Korrie Wood, Charlotte agent, been with us now for 3 years. In her first 3 years in the business, she has already closed $17 million, which is very impressive. And we're going to get into the story here in a little bit, but have how long have you lived in Charlotte?
Pretty much my whole life, right? I was born in New York, then we moved down here when I was 5, so pretty much from here.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, so I know we'll go ahead and get started now, folks. So we're going to start rolling here with this and with Korrie. So Korrie, again, been with us for 3 years in Charlotte, one of our top agents in Charlotte, already closed 17 million her first 3 years in the business. And Korrie, what did you do before you got into real estate?
Oh, what part? I mean,
Well, leading up to getting into real estate, what kind of first off, I should say Korrie lived outside of the country for a while. If memory serves, it was China, Scotland, and France. And so
yes.
how did that turn into moving back to Charlotte and starting your real estate career?
Well, I'll say even moving back here was probably the hardest move out of all of those because we were, all by ourselves for so long. For 5 years, I didn't drive a car. It was crazy. And then when I came back here, I was a mama with 2 small babies, and I wanted to work. Me not working is not healthy, right? So I don't know. I started staging houses with my girlfriend, and that one led to another, and to another, and to another, and then um, I got a contract with Toll Brothers, to be um, a contractor for them. And that means that it's becoming a legitimate business, right? I'm sitting in the bank, I'm setting up, bank account, and I'm like, what's happening? And Celia Klein can actually speak to this. That's where I met her. So I did one house, and then I'm like, okay, good. I'm good. This is performed well. And then the next community called me. And then the next community called me. And I'm like, oh, I like my husband. I'm like, oh shit. This is getting a legitimate business very quickly. So yeah, that's where I started my staging company. It was probably about 4 or 5 years before I got my license.
All right. So we're gonna get back into this. Okay. So after
Okay.
staging and having a successful career, how long were you staging for?
Probably about 5 years.
Oh, okay. And so then you
Yeah,
decided to be a broker, a real estate broker. Why?
I did. Well, because here's the reason why. I got my youngest into kindergarten, and I finally, I was just sick of working so hard for everyone else and everybody else making so much more money. And I'm the one who's busting my tail all the time. So I decided to change it, and I haven't looked back since I have.
Well, when you went about deciding to get into real estate as a broker, and how did you end up choosing High Garden, and what was important to you when you chose a brokerage? That's a question in interviews ask all the time. Like, what's important to
Right.
you? What are you looking for when you choose a brokerage? Why, what were you looking for?
Well, I didn't want to be, I love Walmart, but I didn't want to go to Walmart. I wanted a family. I wanted to feel safe. This is me putting myself out there, and I needed to know, like I knew Brandon very well. I worked with him in a couple of projects.
Okay.
So I knew somebody had my back. And also I wanted to be a smaller brokerage because I didn't want to do 10,000 transactions in one year. I just wanted to do, my projects and do me. So it meant a lot to me that I knew I had my family, my little work family, and I do with Scott and Chris, even with Brandon still, we're tight, and I know that those boys have my back.
Yeah. Well, so now that you've been doing it, and there might have been some frustrations with some of the brokers you were dealing with when you were on the staging side of it, but what surprised you the most in this profession now that you've been doing it for 3 years?
Oh, I feel like I'm in real estate boot camp, to be honest. I mean, good gosh, it just, it, I feel like the t-shirt I should wear, is this going to be the hardest transaction you have to possibly handle? Because, oh, we're going to give it to Korrie. Perfect. She's the perfect one to take it. I don't know, like you just have to, learning the transaction, how it works. Um, and then also realizing, hey, guess what, guys? Everybody's paperwork is the same. You know, everybody, it's a real estate transaction. Everyone's paperwork is the same. So, and not because I just, if you don't know the transaction, then you're just going to flip and fall, right? So what did you ask me?
Well, the question was, if you go back and think about it from the beginning, what surprised you about this business?
Okay, I'll be honest. I can't believe
Please be honest, brutally honest.
I believe some of the realtors I see out there have business. I cannot believe that somebody would trust their, one of their major assets with, I don't know. It just shocks me to see the level of laziness and like non-concern for the transaction.
Yeah, it's something to talk about quite a bit. The bar to get into this business is not very high. I mean, you have to pass an exam and that's about it. Really. I mean, take the class, pass this exam. Like there's not a lot of training that goes into making sure everybody's on the same page and making sure people are professionals. And, that's definitely one thing you brought out quickly to your business was that you were bringing a level of professionalism to it. Like I said, you've been doing this for 3 years now. If you could go back 3 years and talk to your newly licensed self, what advice would you give her?
I think I would tell her, like, it took me 6 months to get my first. Now I have staged helped sell thousands of homes. I'm like, why do I not have a business yet? What's going on here? Right. I would tell her to follow somebody who's handling transactions and do the paperwork with them. Like it's your own, and follow that deal like it is your own. So you know what to do when the time comes. And then you won't be, the fear of failure is removed from that situation. And you're able just to focus on what you're going to bring to the table, and just find that mentor, attach yourself to them, do exactly what they are doing, and handle it like it's your own transaction, and just to learn, take the fear away from it, and then get going.
What kind of fear did you have when you first started, and how has that changed?
Well, fear of failing, right? You put all this time, energy, and effort into it, and I wanted to kill it. But I didn't know how to get started. I'm not sure. You just have to put yourself out there and keep talking to people. So I feel like that was and just because I hadn't handled one transaction from the beginning to the end, right? So once you get that, and once you start, going with it, then you got it, you're fine.
And one of the things you said that really resonated with me is finding someone and learning from them. Advice I give my kids, advice I've given other people. I think it's kind of the secret to life.
Yes.
And specifically what I wanted to say was that if you know who you want to be like, if you know who you aspire to be like, find that type of person, find that individual even, and help them. That is actually the secret. If almost anybody you help selflessly, go out of your way and do it just to help them, they will help you back.
Yes, they will. Because if you're making my life easier, then I'm going to definitely make sure yours is easier as well. Because I'm not asking you to do anything, but you're showing up for me, and I'm not having to ask you. You're just doing the work. Like right. Even right now, Lauren, I love Lauren. I don't want her to ever leave me because I don't have to teach her how to work. She has the work ethic. And that is not teachable, actually.
Who's Lauren? So we all know.
Oh, Lauren, she is my intern. Well, she's actually one of my best friend's daughter who I've known since she was a baby. But she was in school for interior design, but now she's also doing a minor in real estate. So she's kind of real estate school right now.
How's she going to help you? What kind of things are you going to have Lauren do?
Oh, Lauren helps me with everything. When I'm working on my listings, I even walking her through, already teaching her about the transaction. This is what's required, teaching her about the license law. With everything. Yeah.
That's awesome. So your goals for your business?
Here's the thing. Goals for my business. I just wanted to come in and kill it. Honestly, I went very intentional. One of my very first listings, I had to keep going back right? She was interviewing agents, and the whole time I'm like, listen, I will stage this house, I will paint this house, I'll change all the fixtures, I'll take anything outdated, just give me the chance, right? So she would meet with another person, and I'd come back the next day and I'd be like, Connie, what can I do? What can I do to earn your business? I'm like, I'm telling you, I will kill it. So finally, she's like, all right, no, you have something to prove, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to do it. And she did. And it was one of my first listings. We listed at 124, and it came in. So I did do all the things, right?
Just real quick, just because I'm sure people want to make sure that they heard that right. One of your first listings was for 1.24 million.
It was.
Okay, you just made everybody jealous.
Well, listen, I knew I could do it. Because she had called me about staging the house, and I'm like, listen, I can do this. I know I can do this. And so we went on the market and had 9 offers in the first day, and it ended at 5 with 50 due diligence earnings. Yeah, it was crazy.
That is crazy, but you
Yeah.
made it. And
Yeah.
so, going back to, still thinking about you setting your business up and what we were talking about a little bit ago about looking for those who you aspire to be. Was there any particular inspiration you had for what you wanted your business to look like
No,
as a broker?
honestly, I would just go online and see other real estate agents, right? Like I just wanted to, I like that luxury brand look. So I would go in different markets like Google in Arizona or in California and just see what they looked like, those higher end agents. And I'm like, I want to do that.
Are there any particular agents across the country or in Charlotte that you follow on social media that you're really interested by, or that's attractive to your style and what you want to be?
No, this is going to sound bad, but I honestly don't pay attention. Is that
Okay.
bad?
No, not at all.
Just kind of wanted to figure out, like, even with my social media stuff, once I do it, I set it, and I leave, and I don't go back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what's been some of the biggest challenges for you building your brand so far? What's been some obstacles that you really felt like you had to, obviously getting your first listing or getting it very first going? That's always the hardest. I mean,
It was tough.
17 million in the first 3 years is amazing. What's also amazing about that is that you didn't have any business for the first 6 months, and the first year is always very difficult. Anybody that gets to where, first off, if you could just make a reliable career out of this, you're in the top 10 or 20% of people that get their license.
Right.
But so what kind of challenges have you faced?
Well, I guess just staying on it. Like I just put so much into, my listings or, my buyers. But so once the deal's done, it's done. Right. Well, now what am I going to do? I rest for a week, and I'm like, well, I got to get back to work. So I think my biggest challenge is, constantly feeding that pipeline of point of contact. Don't you think?
Yeah. Well, you tell me.
I don't know. You tell me what's the normal response?
The biggest challenges,
Yeah.
where my business is going to come from.
Yeah.
And
Finding that, right?
Where is your business coming from?
I actually get a lot of business from LinkedIn.
Okay. Tell us about it.
I do. With my social media stuff, there's a different way to present on LinkedIn, even though I still present myself the same. I just don't do as personal posts on there. But I mean, that's where a lot of business people and plus people I've done business with in the past, when I was back in the advertising days. Yeah. And I just feel like being a real human being and posting there and hitting the points of, just what's important. Like I focus on who you are, what's important, and how to communicate it. And then, that it kind of just evolves into who you are. I don't know if that's translating well or not, but.
Well, I wanted to ask you about your social media strategy. So how do you pre-plan what you're going to post, and how do you go about your social media, and what do you focus on the most? I follow you on Instagram. I think I follow you on LinkedIn. Uh, I'm assuming you're on Facebook, but what's your social media strategy in general, and how do you approach it?
Yeah, I'm just going to take you through my day. It's where I am. There's not a specific plan because that takes too much energy and time from me. I just
Okay.
want to let you know what I'm doing. And there's opportunities to do videos all the time. I feel like it's time. If it gets too time consuming, I scrap it. Like I'm not going to spend an hour and two on just some dumb video. I'm out. I can't do that. Um, I just, whatever I'm working on, you're gonna know. Like I'll post something. If I don't post for a couple of days, it's just because I'm off and I don't have time to deal with it. But I
So
guess
you're not planning out a calendar for social media.
I'm
It
not.
happens when it happens.
I'm not. I'm really not. It's going to be you. You know, come with me. You're welcome to join me on my day. I'll take you on tour. If we're viewing houses, let's view houses. If we're working on a house, I'll take you through it. And yeah, that's my strategy. You're more welcome to walk through my day with me, and that's easy for me to post. I'm not sitting down and planning out 10,000 things 10,000 times because I don't have time to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think it's very authentic either.
Ed Hensley in Tampa just asked, do you use AI in any of your social media? Have you been using AI at all?
I have been. And also, it's a great tool. I even use it on my emails. Is that awful to say? Like
No.
it makes you sound more professional. It does. I can do my shorthand and it will literally throw it together and sound much better than I could ever write it. Because I can talk all day, but having to sit down and focus and write, like no. Let's make everyone's life easier. And I have. And I also seen with my social media posts using that AI and also focusing on our industry, like not just fun, cute pictures in an outfit. That's not going to work. If you're truly posting some people that care about it, like you're telling me like how you're going to help me or interesting things, when to look at houses when it's pouring down rain. Absolutely, that's what I want to look at houses, right? So it's that kind of stuff along with the AI that is actually performing even better.
Okay. So to be specific, you're going to Chat GPT,
Yes.
and when you have something to write, you're often putting in your notes and then letting it spit out something that's more.
Give me the top hashtag, then I connect it to it. And I'm not kidding you. Like some of my videos have just popped off and I come back and there's like 14,000 views or something. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know that happened.
Well, I went back, I looked at all your Instagram reels, and you had some in the very beginning that were as low as 32 views. And then I've seen you have 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 12,000, over 16,000. So like that has to be so rewarding to see that, like, here you start with a video, you get 32 views, and then here recently you had one with 16,000 views.
That was crazy. And even, guys, it's awesome with your listings. If you just boost your listings with videos that you have, go ahead and throw that because the only place that I'm advertising is on my phone. That is it. That is what's in everybody's hand. That's what everybody's looking at. So I don't do any outside advertising other than on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I don't really do Facebook anymore either. And just push my listings. I push, I've been throwing like 500, behind it just to get more eyeballs. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, it will pop off and you're like, whoa, I
So,
didn't.
so you're boosting your listings on social media and spending about $500 per listing on average.
Yeah.
Okay. I also saw that some of your stuff, you're posting on Instagram, some of the stuff that you'd posted previously on TikTok. Are you using TikTok quite a bit?
Um, I sometimes, I mean, I don't know. You have to be in the mood for TikTok. The videos are easier to edit over there than it is to, sometimes on these reels. So I did, but I mean, even that's starting to get bigger and it's just starts to grow. It's starting to grow even more. So I'm fine with it. I'm not dancing around unless I'm with my kids, right? Like if we want to do business on there, absolutely all day. Also a good place to post is even on Pinterest. You know, if you put your name behind that in the description, Google will pull your name. It will help you come up higher in the SEO.
Yeah. Are you what? So if people want to follow you, by the way, it's Corey Dibblewood on Instagram. What other names would you find on your other platforms?
It's that is also important. It's all the same.
Okay.
Even my website, Korrie Wood. Like keep it very, very simple. Doesn't have to be crazy. Just be yourself, be authentic in what you're doing, and make everything super simple.
And Dibble is your maiden name, Dibble.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay. So, social media is, I think, really leveled the playing field for people to get into this business, not have to spend money for an ad agency, not have to spend all kinds of money to build their brand. And you've been doing that effectively. What would you say your brand is?
Um, well, this is where I'm headed to. At list, stage, sell. Every single person who knows me, everything who's going to know me, I want you to know I'm going to list your house, I'm going to stage it, and we're going to get sold. That is going to be my tagline, and I'm really just going to start honing in on it and doing a better job with it.
Okay.
That is where I'm going to be and I stage all my listings at no charge to my clients, and I also do the pictures and drone and all that stuff, but because I want to own that property so I can use that material anywhere in this universe, right? So, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, that was great that he posted that. So obviously you came from a staging background. You you will literally stage any and all listings. I mean, you're doing some higher end listings oftentimes, not always, but some people are doing $200,000 listings and may feel like they don't have, enough money to pay to stage it. What would you say to those people?
I think just clean up the house. Get that house cleaned up. Don't accept, like, sweep the floor. That's one of my biggest pet peeves of all of this is like we literally just went through 41 homes this week trying to find a house for my client, and they are disgusting. They're disgusting. Like, clean it up, clean up the trash. You can't get a trash bag. Come on, take some pride in what you're doing.
How many of the 41 were in decent shape or good shape?
Uh, I'm gonna go half and half on it. I really am. I mean, it became almost like, it's fun when you're out looking at houses no matter what. But we'd walk in and my clients they're in on it. They're like, oh, here you go, Korrie, pointing out everything that's wrong. But I don't know, it was fun.
Now, some people are sitting here thinking 41 show homes to one client. That's crazy. Why isn't Corey learning more upfront as to what they want, so you don't have to look at 41 different listings? And sometimes the paradox of choice can come into the matter. Of course, with the inventory situation we've been dealing with for a few years, there's not very often enough choice, but 41 homes is a lot. Why is that a good strategy?
Well, they're new to this market, so they didn't know exactly where they wanted to live. So I had to show her all the areas, right, of what's available and then what's available in those areas. And she needed to feel it. You're not going to get to the point of the decision until you felt what all the areas feel like and then what the homes feel like. It was her process. And sometimes it just takes a little bit more effort to show her, hey, this is your house. This is your house. You remember walking through all those other things and wasn't the right fit for you. For her, that was her process. And it was in tight knit areas. So they were quick. It wasn't like, hours and hours and hours. So we ran through them quick, but it was just part of her process.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I did quite a few of, go ahead. What were you going to say?
That bad though? Do you think 41's bad?
It's not that it's bad. It's that some people, it depends on, first off, someone coming in town, they need to learn the area. They don't know what part of town they like, let alone what homes are available. Some people would say you should show 3-5 homes at the most. And if they don't like any of those, you go back to the drawing board and try to better understand what you thought you already knew about what's important to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you have someone coming in from out of town and you're just learning this person and just learning what's important to them.
Yeah.
Sometimes just having them with you for that long is really the bonding that it takes to, secure them as a client.
Yeah.
It just depends on the situation.
Okay.
Um, I was
I'll,
doing a series of these back in when we were kind of in lockdown and weren't able to get together nationally, where I interviewed a number of different agents like this. And kind of my focus of that and those was knowing your value. And the big question that I was asking all of our agents in these settings um, was why you? And if you aren't able to explain why someone should use you, what your value is to them, then that's where you need to get back and start there. You've been doing this now for 3 years. List, stage, sell is, the brand that you're building, but why should someone use Korrie Wood?
I'm going to kill it and I'm going to show up every day. I'm not joking. This is my business. It runs inside and outside of me. Um, Nothing comes other than my husband, my 2 kids, and these 3 dogs. Nothing comes. I protect my business and myself the same. And I run every single morning. I am that consistent if it has my name on it, I'm going to absolutely bring it.
What are you going to plans on? How are you going to take your business to the next level? What's on your horizon for continuing to grow this?
Well, for first and foremost, my husband travels a ton for work. So I just go project to project. To be a healthy position for me, I need to just, either buyer or one buyer or one listing, or if it's working in tandem, just make sure it's a controlled environment. So mine is just to have like maybe one house a month, right? Even if it's buying or selling, I'm fine with that. Like I need to have a healthy balance between my real estate career and home, because I need to be a happy mama and happy agent, right? Or
Right.
if I'm a stressed out mess, nothing's happening. Yeah. Nobody's happy. No.
That's perfect. Balance is tough. I mean, when someone achieves success, what can happen, and this is when you get an intern, you get help, but what can happen is when you're doing well and that snowball starts accumulating and you're getting repeat clients and referral clients, that it's going to grow whether you want it to or not if you're
It
putting
is.
it with that kind of professionalism and attitude. And then you got to figure out how you're going to balance it then. And you're probably getting up against that a little bit right now.
Yeah, a little bit. I've really had to protect my time. I
Yeah.
really do, like, say, all right, this is what we're doing. And when I commit to it, I'm all in and we'll get it done. But yeah, I just have to protect my time because
Perfect.
be able to focus. Is that a good answer?
Great answer. I
Okay.
think when someone is achieving what you're achieving, finding that balance is a challenge. I
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about the market. Obviously, for really since you got into the market with COVID, we started this company 23 years ago. I was just telling this the other day to somebody. I've said it a number of times, but there's never been what I feel like is a normal real estate market in 23 years. It certainly hasn't been normal in the last three. Um, COVID just exacerbated the inventory shortage problem we've been having. And now in the last 12 months, interest rates go from 3% to 7%. So I wanted to get kind of your feel for the market and with your clientele, how you're dealing with it. But just going back to the beginning, how did you first learn the market? What did you do to study to understand the market? Um, what kind of inventory was available? What kind of differences there were from this part of Charlotte versus that part of Charlotte? How'd you go about learning?
I got in my car and drove, everything that was available. Just learned what the available, like, what the builders have available, just go on tour. Don't you think?
I think it's great. I think a lot of agents don't do that, and they should. They should get in the car. They should set themselves up in whatever area they want to focus on, see what new listings are coming on the market. Sometimes the showing that needs to happen is just you previewing the listing so that when you get those clientele, you are already educated on what's going on out there.
Exactly. And calling those agents and being like, hey, what's your response bid? Why you're still sitting, like just talk. Everybody wants to talk about their house. if you want to learn about a neighborhood, grab a dog and go walk that neighborhood. Every neighbor and their brother, I promise, wants to talk about their house or what's going on with their neighbor's house. I mean, that's even how I found this house. Brian and I went to go look at a property down the road, and Miss Linda was standing in her driveway, thinking it's in her pajamas because it's thinking it's going to snow. And she took me on tour of her house, and here we are. So
An extra dog people can borrow if they need one.
I mean, I have 3. You're more than welcome to take
I'm
one
good.
of.
I got one. That's one enough.
Yeah.
How have you adjusted as the market? The first couple of years was one type of thing, and then the last year here has been another. How have you adjusted you and your business with the market changing the way it has?
Well, my business model hasn't changed. Like if there's something dated, it's coming out. If it's something that needs to be fixed, we're going to fix. If it needs to be paint, we're going to paint it. And my job is to make you look as best as I possibly can on the market you well, and get you sold. So that is I can't worry about anything else I can't control, right? I can only control me, and I can make sure that I put everything I have into this listing so it performs well. And then if it's not, and also to set the expectation on price, because a lot of people have very elevated expectations of price at the moment. So, having that healthy balance, but also if there is that conversations happening on the price, I also throw my clients in the car and say, okay, let's go take a look at this is, if you want to be at this number, this is what you're going to have to look like. So,
Wednesday, Duncan has a question. Before I get to that, I wanted to ask you, how are you going about that conversation with their elevated expectation of price right now? How are you handling those concerns that are, they're thinking it's worth this, it's not? How are you going about it?
I've just sent them listings that what their expectations of where, if you want to be there, this is what you have to look like. And I think I saw one question, do you pay for it? Sometimes I do, like it's not a fixture off of Wayfair is not that expensive. If it really truly helps it, I don't mind. But then I also have the conversation of like, hey, and I also use the same contractor, so I get good pricing right from them because I use the same team all the time. So yeah, sometimes I'll be like, hey, if you picked up fixtures, I'll pay for the electrician, right? You become a team, you get involved in it. But yeah, what was the question?
Well, Wednesday and Kaya Marsh both asked essentially the same thing. How often are you paying for cosmetics, painting, and anything else? And how often are you getting reimbursed for any of that as well?
Well, the performance of the house is definitely a pretty good reimbursement, right? My check. And, essentially it has paid off very, very well, making small investments into my clients. That's a conversation for you guys, for you to have with your clients, I think, because if they can't see the financial benefit of it, then they're probably not going to go for it. Right. But if you show them like, hey, this performed at this level, I think if we changed a couple of fixtures, I'll buy the fixtures and you pay for electrician, or I don't know, just kind of work it out.
Okay.
If they don't have it, you can always submit it to the closing attorney and get paid at closing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in Charlotte, there's closing attorneys. In some markets, it's title companies, so it does vary by market on where you close. You've talked quite a bit about listings, and that's a little unusual for someone who's newer in the business to focus on listings maybe as much as you have. But what's your buyer mix like? I mean, how much are you doing just straight buyers without listings?
I mean, it's a quarter of my business.
Okay.
Yeah, but my buyers are a lot of referrals from my clients. I've gotten a couple of crazy, the higher maintenance, I guess, ones. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is a lot of time, a lot of effort, and you're not very happy in your position. So, in life, I don't think that's a house, right? So.
Well, I do know this. If I had $1 for every time an agent told me, why do I always get the crazy ones? I would be retired. So you're not the only one that gets the wacky people down again.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't mind. I love what I'm doing. I love running through those houses. I love what's seen in the market. I don't mind. Even the client wasn't with me the entire time we did all 41. I did do some of my own as well because I just wanted to see what I could find for her and send her some videos. But I, I enjoy it as long as I'm, in the market, having fun, seeing what's out there. I'm in a good place.
I wanted to ask you about, staying on the topic of the market. How are you addressing interest rate concerns with either people that already own a home and that are maybe feeling like they don't want to give up a low interest rate, or the buyers and affordability?
It is what it is. You can't change that either. The only thing is if you need a house and we need to get you a house and you're just gonna have to refinance later. There's no real option. Or you have a rich brother who can pay cash for you, I don't know. But
Right.
it is what it is. There's no real conversation other than you're gonna have to refinance. If you're buying right now and this is this is the time you have to buy, then let's find your right house and then we'll refinance it down the line.
Have you sold any new construction that's doing the, promotional
Yeah.
lower rates?
Yeah. I mean, you have to use their lender and, and their attorneys and stuff, but yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. They have some very good incentives right now.
Absolutely. It's definitely helping with a lot of folks, that's getting them a rate that they can live with.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know. And buy it down, try to get it down as low as possible and, having good mortgage guys to work with and see what product they could get for you, you know.
Low inventory since you started has been the consistent theme. How have you been going about finding inventory for your clients when it feels like there just isn't much out there?
Yeah. Um, Digging it out of the dirt. Is that,
What, what does that mean to you?
um, I going to that new construction, seeing where it's located, knowing the client, this particular, she was just by herself with a dog, but I had to make sure she's in a safe area. And then maybe it can't be as close to Charlotte, so pull it out some. And, um, and if we fell in love with a neighborhood because I found a neighborhood for her, then I used to have a listing in there. I called Miss Kristen. I'm like, Miss Kristen, I have your new best friend, right? I Can you talk to everybody and see if anybody's wanting to sell? You
Yeah,
know,
that
the,
worked. Have you
yeah,
had
he's, so and so it's getting older and you get rid of the stairs and so just yeah, door knock if you have to. If you're in love with the neighborhood and they're in love with the neighborhood, then go talk.
I was going to ask you that. I don't know if you've actually had gotten to the point where you had a situation where someone really wanted a particular neighborhood and you did actually door knock. Have you done that?
I have, yeah, for sure.
What was
Yeah.
that like?
Well, I did flyers, but like I think got zero response. And so it was fine. I mean, we didn't end up in that neighborhood, but again, I just grabbed my dog, went and did my run, my morning run through there. And everybody's willing to talk. You just have to, come, just go ask them, go talk. Like that might sound pretty elementary, but like, just go talk to them. Everybody wants to talk about their house.
Yeah. I think walking around a neighborhood, whether it's with a dog or not, and just meeting people is probably a
Yeah.
strategy that not enough people employ that could be really effective. I love that. And by the way, if you have additional questions for Korrie and I, please put them in the chat. We're going to kind of transition from the market to more about just you and your job and the way you approach the job on a day to day. What does your typical day look like in real estate?
Mm,
Is there a
well,
typical day?
typical day?
I don't know. Is there one?
No, I don't think so. The only thing that's consistent in my life is I get up and run every morning, every single morning, or I am grumpy. And then I have take the kids to school and I have from that time period from 8 to 3 that I have time to work, right? To get whatever I get done to go to lunch, or I don't go to lunch. That's a lie. Whatever. I have that time period. That's all I have. Right. So if I need to go in mom mode and get everything for the house, I do that. And then I work for those couple of hours, pick the kids up, do that job, set it back down. If Brian's not here, I go back to work for a couple more hours, and then that's it. So a typical day is you have so many hours in the day, and I just have to make it count.
Do you know the night before what you're going to do for work the next day?
Oh, I know 2 weeks in advance, actually.
Okay, well, tell us about that. What are you scheduling 2 weeks in advance on?
Just meetings, walkthroughs. Um, if you're a listing, then I have put you on a timeline. I have you on like a 4-week timeline, and I give to you at the front end to show you where we're at in the process. So like all of that is on my calendar every single day. Everything I have to do for that day is already on my calendar.
Okay, well, but if you don't have anything scheduled, like a closing or a walkthrough or a showing, and you're going to work, do you know, like, I'm prospecting from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. tomorrow? Or, what, if you don't have anything scheduled, what are you going to do?
Well, then
How are you going to build your business that day?
Oh, well, I'm just going to go back to what Mark said when he was on here. It's all about your sphere. And it's even if you think it's not, just picking up the phone, calling all of your past clients, calling have your hairdresser, whatever, like also following them on their social, knowing what's involved in their life. So when you pick up the phone, like you have intentional phone calls, they know what's going on with you. So I dig into my sphere, just keep, pick up the phone, making phone calls to catch up with people.
Chris has a few questions. A couple of them are on my list I haven't gotten to yet. But the first one here, what are you reading or listening to that you would suggest to others as well?
What am I reading or listening? I love listening to podcasts. I listen to them all the time. And I'll give you a couple of links when we get done here of teaching you how to do your social media. There's a couple of girls I follow. I also like to listen to Rachel Hollis or, podcast or what else? I don't know, even Pillows and Beer, just something dumb, like that. The social media stuff, even when I'm like on vacation or taking a break, I am constantly listening to that in my headphones because the technology keeps getting further and further and further along. And I want to just become more efficient at it.
Yeah. Another question he had, we talked a little bit about this, but are you doing anything different with your daily schedule or anything different at all between this year versus before? Has anything changed there for you?
I would say that I am posting my value online more often.
Okay. How
Right?
so? How you doing that?
That would be like, why are you an expert? So why are you an expert, Steve? Tell me why I should hire you, right? Instead of like saying that question, I'm showing you my value. Even like, who was it? I think it was Christina. Was she out buying gutters or something the other day for her client?
Christina Humphrey?
I think so. Wasn't that?
Yeah, I do. I feel, does anyone remember if Christina Humphreys out buying gutters? I don't remember. I might have missed.
On Instagram, and I'm like, yes, girl, yes, go buy those gutters. Absolutely. And show everybody that you're buying those gutters because that's the difference right there. That's the difference.
That's a great example. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I asked you a little bit, I kind of got into it, but how are you going about prospecting? What does prospecting mean to you? To me, and if anybody reads these things I send out monthly, prospecting is a theme that I talk about a lot. The reason why I talk about a lot is because the conversations I'm having with agents every day pretty much seems to always get back to the fact that they're not prospecting as often as they really should to build their business to the point they want. What does prospecting mean to you?
Well, I may be on the list.
You're doing all right. There's other people we're worried about before we have to worry about you.
I don't know. Maybe I need to be prospecting more is what I'm saying.
Maybe, but then your balance would be out of whack.
Right. Exactly. I feel like people know who you are and what you do. So no matter where you are, you're kind of having real estate, conversations, right? Um, and I would probably, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you need to answer this one.
Well, do you prospect?
I mean, but everywhere you are, it's a
Listen,
possibility.
I actually the takeaway I've had from here on your prospecting that I think's great is that your runs, your walks, you're going through neighborhoods and you're meeting people.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're setting in
That's
the every day. So it's
yeah,
not like, I kind of feel like I'm not answering the question. Like,
you are.
you set in your groundwork every day. So when the time comes, you know what the neighbors' names are. You know who's selling, who's not selling. Like, just maybe focus in one area and start building your brand within that area.
Okay.
And say, hey, if you ever think about selling, will you let me know?
That right there is what some people are willing to do and some aren't. And that's going to make all the difference in the world. I don't know what the statistic is, but you're 78% more likely to get something if you ask for it.
Yes, and say, hey, will you just let me know? I might have a really good buyer for you, or maybe I can help you with it. But just be really genuine about it. Be yourself and introduce yourself. Hey, take me on tour. Can you take me on tour? I don't know. People love to talk about houses. I love
Yeah.
it.
I, a technical question I really want to get into, and not something we talk about a lot. How do you show a house? When you like your 41 showings, not all of them were with your client, but you're with your client. What do you actually do when you cross the threshold of the home? Because
Um,
people do this differently, and I'm sure you do it with a particular
I
methodology.
turn every light in. Okay, I'm gonna have to stand up. Hold on a second. I go and turn every light on, and then I saw there's a body language artist or whatever on, I can't remember which show it was the other day, and then I do this. And apparently it's called the King Charles pose. Who knows? I have no idea. But it just, and let them take it in, right? Because they need to make the decision. And I'm honestly, I walk straight to the back door and see what the backyard feels like, and just open the door and just feel it.
Okay.
Right. What do you do?
Well, I don't show homes.
Oh, you don't show home?
I don't. I honestly, back when Brian, Chris, and I were selling, we were selling new construction, so it was pretty much different. But
Oh.
yeah, I mean, but there's also from a safety perspective as a woman, how do you approach that?
Oh, well, you follow, let them lead. You make sure that you're in a safe point, right, of the house. Don't be walking in closets. Let them go. I just stand back. I really do. Like, let them lead and make sure that you're at the door. You are at the door to be able to exit, and you
Yes,
head on a swivel the entire time. Yeah.
good. Something I want to get into a little bit is what kind of structure do you have for communication with your clients? Is it structured where you're setting expectations about when you're going to be communicating with them?
Yeah.
How do you communicate with your clients, and not just clients? Tell me about your communication with other agents, because that is a place where I see so many people fail.
Yeah. I think you really have to be respectful. I thought you were going to ask me if I communication with my husband.
Well, we can get into that later.
Or in marriage therapy. No, I think it's very important. I'll majority of the time, I always pick up my phone. I will answer your text immediately. I will email you back immediately. If not, I'll tell you exactly where I am in a text and be like, hey, I need 2 seconds. I can answer you back in 20 minutes. And then I do answer back in 20 minutes. So I feel like it's extremely important. And even with the other agents, listen, no matter what side you are on it, there's no reason why it can't be a nice transaction, right? Of like, hey, this is where we're at. This is why we came in at this price, and be able to tell your story. And then also, thanks, Chris. Then to be like, okay, my God, Gerard, this is why we're coming at this price. Here's my story behind it. Hey, if you don't agree, just then counter me, right? Tell me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason why it can't be as smooth as possible transaction, picking up your phone, and you treat everybody with respect. And you can't do about the folks who are grumpy. And I'm going to quote Roxanne Dibble. Those folks are going to get happy in the same pants they got pissed off in. So leave it alone.
Roxanne Dibble's your mom.
Roxanne Dibble. Yes. God
Well,
bless her.
good advice.
Mhm.
Here's something that not a lot of people think about when they get into the business, but the art of negotiation. What's your negotiation style with the other agent you're dealing with? And, how do you go about that?
I think it's my favorite part, honestly.
Okay. Why?
I mean, I don't know. I'm all in. Like,
It's
I think
fun.
it is fun, right? Like it is. You want to make sure you're getting the best price. And then are you going to get it or you're not going to get it? I don't know. So
When you're talking to the other agent, or how are you, would you say you're a hardball negotiator?
a bit of a bulldog. I am. But in a very, very professional way. Like, don't mess with my clients, like I am very protective of my clients, and don't use my deal to get a better deal. If we've been sitting here and you have a good deal and we're strong, we're clean, we're solid, we're swift, then let's get it done. But don't use me to get, more money on Sunday or Monday morning. Absolutely not. We're out.
So you're a bulldog, but the other agent still likes you.
Exactly.
That's a tough balance. That's a tough deal to thread.
A bold, yes. Yeah, I am. I'm not.
And how do you balance that? How do you thread that needle?
I mean, first of all, you're prepared, right? You have to know the numbers, right? You have to know why they're priced the way they are and why you think it's this number. So you have to know the numbers, do the research, pull the, other listings and see if they're priced right or not.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Is that good?
It's great.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were a good negotiator before you got into real estate? Because it's a skill that a lot of people have never really practiced before.
Yeah. I don't know if well, listen, I was in advertising sales.
Okay.
10 years before we left, to go move to China. So I think that I learned it.
That's good. Yeah, there are people that get into the real estate that haven't been in sales, haven't negotiated, and it is a skill that so many people. Well, it's not something I feel like it's talked a lot about, but it is something that a lot of people just aren't comfortable with.
Yeah.
And if they're bulldogs, they usually come across as assholes at the same time. That's easy to do if you're not careful.
Right.
How would you say you go about managing the process of the transaction, setting those expectations, keeping the trains running on time?
Well, I like putting everything in my calendar. I like, as soon as it happens, even Sam Powell, he and I got to work on a deal together, recently. And, the day we were under contract, hey, here's our due diligence. It's in my calendar. Here is, when, all the things that part of the transaction is put down, it's in your calendar. You set the reminders, you invite your clients, they accept, it's on their calendars. So that's just another step of communication, that everything that's going to happen in this transaction, here's your dates. And it happens on the day that you go under contract. I love that.
Yes. Okay. We're going to wrap it up here quickly. A couple more questions. How you mentioned a little bit ago, lenders and other, I know you have some other vendor partners that you promote. How have you gone about selecting those people to partner with in business?
I just, just working with them, right? Like you build this team of people, and sometimes there's like, yeah, this isn't work out, because they show up and they work just as hard as you do. And they always show up for me. They always show up for me, and I pay them immediately. It's not 5 seconds down the road. Even if my client pays me back or whatever, I will figure that out. But if you're coming to work for me, I'm going to pay you as soon as you're finished.
That's good.
Yeah.
Last question. It's one of the questions Chris asked as well, and it's definitely something that we talk about all the time because so many people do not have one. What is your past client plan? How are you making sure? This is a stat we've thrown around so many times, but 86% of people that bought a home with an agent ended up listing that same home with a different agent, which is boggling. What's your plan to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, I do call, when you're saying just pick up the phone and call them all the time, just to stay in connection with them and just, hey, how's it going? Where are you at in life? But as far as like, am I emailing them?
I don't
That's
know.
what I am going to get started on this year. What did Mark say that when he did this about building your email database?
Probably Mark. I mean, Mark has a very specific, I mean, his whole business is built around the sphere and making sure that he stays in touch with those
Yeah.
people that are in his list, his database.
Yeah.
But
I'd
how
love
often are you calling?
it. Just my past clients, all
Yeah,
my lists.
how often? Like, do you have structure to it? That's the question.
No, no structure, time, capacity. But it's every couple of months, but we're still following each other, and I can still text them at any moment, and they know where I am and I know where they are. So
What happens is, as you build that business and you continue to have more and more past clients without structure, people fall through the cracks.
I am open to suggestions. Maybe,
We'll
teach
talk
me.
more. Well, we will. We'll get someone on here specifically to talk about the best past client plan. And Mark has talked about that before. He's a great person to have again. There's others as well, but that is something that I do think you don't want to get too far into your business without having something that has structure to it.
Right.
Because
What, email database, or like, I wish it could be text. Can you do text? Like,
well, the IMS has a lot of features that help with this, from the neighborhood update to the area update to the AVM, that essentially our version of the Zestimate. This keeps you, if you have all your clients in our system properly, it looks like you're doing all the work and the system's doing everything for you, and you keep in front of them without you having to really do anything. But having structure to working out, having structure to staying in touch with them, whether it's via the phone, text, commenting on their social media, I think it's really important.
well, I give you my promise. I will make more time and put everything into IMS and get some structure put in there. Yeah, I do send those monthly market updates.
Yeah, that's
Have,
that's one of the things I was referring to. Thank you, Rick.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Does anybody else have any thoughts or questions they want to share for Korrie before we let her go back to her day? Well, Korrie,
I think we're good.
I think we're good, but it's been a real pleasure having you on here. We're going to keep doing this more often. Like I said, we did it a little more during COVID, and we're going to bring it back. But congratulations on what you've built so far, and we're excited to see where it goes from here.
Thank you. I'm sorry to everyone for the technical difficulties at the beginning, but thanks for having me. It's been a blast. I hope I didn't ramble too much, but it was fun.
You were great. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see everybody next time.
Good. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.